Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch Atlantic Showdown. It is the regional finals at last. Mitch is here with me, and we've been waiting weeks and weeks for this to get to this moment.
I don't know if we were waiting. I think we were casting for weeks and weeks to get here. There were a ton of games to get through, but eventually, after each of the 4 weeks, 4 teams went through. Now we have the top 16 in Europe. We still need to whittle them down further.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off, obviously, in the round of 16 or whatever it's called. I don't know. It's technically a round of 16. There's 2 brackets anyway. And speaking of brackets, we might as well jump straight to them. Let's talk about the brackets because there they are. The round of 16. There's so many great games on. Obviously, we can only cover one of them. It was very hard to choose, but we've gone with ANOX versus Overwatch Kings. We'll get to that in a moment. I want to briefly mention all the other games that are in the brackets here because you've got, obviously, Northern Gaming Blue, who've recently become Gringos, so, yeah, of course.
Name update required, but it is the same.
It is. Then they're going to be against Too Strong, who had a great performance this weekend in the tournament over on the Open. Creation, clearly one of the strongest teams there. They're up against Bikini Beach Esports, who the Germans, you know, they've had some fun results. B-Fly, they qualified in the last qualifiers, but they're up against Reunited. That's a tough one for them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not going to be an easy game for them all. Reunited looking quite good, although a couple games here and there, they are seeming to drop. But then on the other side, Lee, we've got Misfits versus Air. Obviously, Misfits were the first team to qualify through the Overwatch Open. They qualified very early on in our qualification process. Then Melty Esports Club, the French Giants, who started off so far ahead of the game back when beta came out, now slipping a little bit, play against the Gatekeepers. We've got Rogue and Pretz as well, which will be a very interesting game as well, Lee. Rogue looking a lot stronger now in the last week or so, seem to have made some tweaks from last week, but week to week, hard to really get a feel for those guys. And then we United, of course, it's Too Easy's rejuvenation of his roster with Forsaken and Shadowburn, of course, coming away from Fortress. So that is a very strong team, but still very much a mix at this point. And they're going up against SG1.
I can't help but feel, right, I don't want to bring it up, but I can't help but feel that's the wrong bracket.
Could be.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
The reason why that
we redid it. We redid the seeding.
Yeah, that's the old bracket.
Yeah,
but that's fine. We can sort that one out later on.
I only just noticed it. I was just like looking at it. I'm thinking, I'm sure the next game is Rogue Gatekeepers that are playing at the same time.
But on that note as well, obviously we did we did
boys.
have brackets to start with, and we redid them essentially with a more of a specific kind of seeding, because in the North American region we got a pretty nasty bracket that would see like the 2 of the 4 top teams eliminated by the sort of the second round. So we did go back through, and then we applied a seeding process to the brackets instead of sort of randomly generating them inside their pools. So now it makes a lot more sense. We can show the updated brackets a little bit later on in the piece here as well. But Lee, let's dive into our first match tonight.
Let's talk about ANOX versus Overwatch Kings, because there has been so many changes throughout this, of course. This is going to be our first game of the day, the round of 16, and we're going to follow this through to the winner versus, you know, the Rogue Gatekeepers match. One can only presume it will be Rogue, but we'll find out. But let's talk about ANOX to begin with, because these guys have been on a bit of a roller coaster, I think it's safe to say, over the last couple of months. They've had some absolute belting performances and some shockers. And as you can see, the roster on your screen there is some legends in here. Obviously, a lot of guys that may be watching this, you may be new to esports, you may be, I mean, even saying you're new to esports, let me just basically tell you, Cypher and Cooler are Quake gods. Those guys have played for so many years through Quake. Cypher is probably the most successful Quake player. I don't know, you could argue maybe Rafa would be up there alongside him, but he definitely won a hell of a lot. Cypher, Cooler obviously was one of the original gods, effectively, of Quake 1, Quake 2 taste. These guys have been around for a very long time, but they've got a mix of players these days.
Yeah, so basically, the old ANOX team actually featured AVEC, Forsaken, and Shadowburn as well. So like more of those sort of pros of old. And they actually made a split recently. AVEC, Forsaken, Shadowburn left to Fortress. Now Forsaken and Shadowburn are playing with We United with Too Easy. So now with the 3 other players coming in, which is ANAC, Rubicon, and the other one escapes me as well.
I got him to pull the graphic down. That's totally thrown you, isn't it?
Right. I wanted to read off that as well. But there's 3 TF2 players and 3 Quake players. So everyone goes off about ANOX as like this sick Quake pro team, but you have incredibly good Kenzie. It was.
It's moved on now.
It was Kenzie. So it was ANAC, Kenzie, and Rubicon come in. They're TF2 players. So you've got a half Quake, half TF2 lineup, and they've been looking incredibly good lately.
Yeah.
If you go back, I mean, they qualified very early on. They qualified through the first qualifier. They actually beat Overwatch Kings to get into this last pool of 16. 16. And then, of course, in the Overwatch Open first week, they smashed it. They were one map ahead against Misfits, and they were 2 rounds up in a King of the Hill, and they lost it all from there. And then their second week in the Overwatch Open was a lot quieter. They actually lost out to Rogue. They played Temple of Anubis on there, and they were looking so good, and they got shut down by Tvik.
Which is a map that's in the pool this week. We'll get to that later on. It's not ordinarily picked by teams. But, I mean, ANOX, with those TF2 guys in, you've got to feel it's brought a lot of experience to, obviously, the payload maps. Sure. You know, that's Gold Rush, effectively, was the Team Fortress 2 version of it. Stopwatch, payload, whatever you want to call it, it's got to bring that experience. Because we always used to confer to ANOX and saying, you know, they were very good King of the Hill team. Exactly. They were the King of the Hill team. Obviously, that's changed a bit. Let's talk about Overwatch Kings, though, because these guys are also, you know, they've been around for a very long time. A lot of old enemy territory players in there, etc. They've all been around in gaming and actually as a unit for a very long time. Twitty, we've heard, is primarily the shot caller, but there's a lot of shot callers within this team. It's a very mishmatch, and they have had a couple of changes lately. Obviously, the biggest one, I actually spoke to Twitty just before this. The biggest one, obviously, was Clown coming in. They were kind of forced to have those changes by certain players leaving, etc. But they feel with Clown coming in, it has settled them a fair amount. Yeah, I mean, Misha was initially the Lucio player in this lineup. They brought in Clown, who, ironically enough, used to be rivals with Olber and Twitty back in ET. They brought him in, and Misha left because he thought it was a bit too much of a democratic calling environment in this team. Everyone was calling the shots. And then when Likely joined the lineup as well, he's a Swedish player, he was even more exacerbating that because he was quite a loud voice, quite opinionated as well. And Misha was like, I'm playing Lucio. Let me call the shots, but that wasn't the way the Overwatch Kings wanted to play it. So he left the team, not really in bad blood, but it definitely forced Overwatch Kings to quickly sort of replace him. Luckily, they get another player from the old days, the glory days in Clown. And they seem to solidify a bit more. It's been a rough couple of weeks for them in general. And they just qualified in the last chance qualifier, number 4. Played up against Lemix, which was Clanton's team there as well, if we do think back to those guys. So it wasn't the prettiest and it wasn't the smoothest qualification process, but now they've got a best of 5 to prove why they should be here, and they get a second chance in the lower bracket. Yeah, and obviously while on ANOX we were talking about, you know, they got the Quake gods, we should probably talk about Olber, because he's an absolute amazing McCree player. So we're expecting him to certainly be playing that a hell of a lot throughout this one. They did play each other this weekend, though, and it was 2-0 to ANOX. It was a pretty convincing performance. Yes. It was early stuff. That was on Kings Row and Hollywood. We'll see whether we get any of those tonight. Kings Row is in the pool as well as Hollywood. Let's talk about the map pool quickly. The first map tonight will be Dorado. That's been fixed, and then the loser will choose the next map. It is a best of 5 throughout the night, throughout the tournament, double elimination. No excuses whatsoever for anyone because the reseeding happened. There's just literally no excuse for a team right now. Yeah, no excuse at all. The map pool is going to be Dorado, Hollywood. Yeah, okay, payload, we're seeing that. Hanamura, Ilios, Kings Row, and Temple of Anubis. So 2 capture point maps in there, which we don't ordinarily see. But that said, when they played each other, way back, I believe Hanamura was played. Back in the original Cup #1 qualifier quarterfinals. Yeah, and that's long time ago. Back when we 4 weeks ago. That's back when we could have draws in games as well. So that result was actually, and we had 4-1. No hero limit as well. Exactly. So a lot's changed since then as well. ANOX recently played Anubis as well up against Rogue, and then were winning until Tvik literally 1v5 them. It was pretty nuts actually. If you were watching that in the Overwatch Tvik thing, it was ridiculous. And then they went on to lose that King of the Hill map on Ilios quite nastily as well. So you have to wonder as well. We talked about them as this big King of the Hill team, bringing in these TF2 players, may have smoothed them out on payload, but what has it done in other game types? I mean, there's only so far you can really take that analogy as well and sort of go with it, but at the end of the day, it is a very much different ANOX team. It is a very much improved ANOX team. A good example against Rogue, who they went up against quite a lot, and will go up against tonight if Rogue wins, and they do as well. They used to get stopped by them all the time, but the last couple of meetings have been a lot closer, with the exception of, I think it was Friday night. Yeah. So. Well, okay, so we're waiting for Dorado to get going. I want to go with predictions, Mitch. I'm going to throw it out there. You know what? We've got a tournament with 16 very good European teams in. Obviously, America's going to be starting on Wednesday and Thursday. That's when that's going to be kicking off. So be sure to tune in for that one. Let's go with some straight out the park. 4 European teams are going to qualify, 4 North American teams. What European teams are going to qualify? I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say. Yeah, well, the way the bracket looks right now, I think
Rogue have I think Rogue get through, straight through. I think Creation gets straight through, and I think ANOX can get through in the lower bracket there as well. Misfits as well. I honestly think those four will go at this stage, barring any strange little matchups. There's a few teams I'm missing out there as well.
You've missed out Reunited there.
Yes. I have missed out Reunited, and that's on purpose as well. Depends who they, because the brackets flip when you get into the lower bracket. But anyway, we're going to jump into game now, guys. We can talk a little bit more about that later on. But my prediction for this game is it's going to be tight, but I think ANOX will be a little bit stronger here. But let's see how Dorado plays out. It will be ANOX defending to start things up here. You can see the setup, of course, and it will be fairly standardly. Nothing crazy here. It's going to be Cypher on that on the Reaper here to kick things off, and Kenzie, no surprise to see him on the McCree.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be interesting to see how it works out. The attacking team, we're going to see a Hog, Adatonian on the Hog on attack. That's a very unusual setup. Okay, see whether it works out for him. Cypher's going to be on that Reaper, so we'll keep our eyes likely on the Zenyatta. It's something we've seen almost predominantly now. The Zenyatta has replaced the Mercy. We don't see Mercies too often anymore with the Lucios, of course, Clown and Cooler, respectively. Now, as we expect, they're probably going to dash off to the left-hand side right now and maybe push around. Let's see whether they try and blitz it through, because I'm very interested to see how Adatonian is going to work. You see, he just took a hell of a lot of damage as they tried to set up for this.
Yeah, so straight on the left side, and that's where the fight starts. You can see Rib as well just trying to set things up as much as he possibly can. But Cooler and Kenzie starting things off really, really nicely here. OWKings already falling by the wayside now. They're losing player after player. It's Rib likely going down and out. Adatonian, an easy first push from ANOX to push on through. And they set this up by leaving Kenzie in that little window there as well, above the underpass, and the rest of the team forced around on that left side as well. Fairly safe fight there, but OWKings obviously weren't able to make those kills happen. And of course, with Kenzie sort of left in that interesting spot, he was able to shut them down.
This is a bit of worry. You know, they got ANOX managed to get himself Graviton Surge available before anybody else as the first ulti available. That is very impressive as Zaya. Clearly those shielding work perfectly, which expect the Graviton Surge to pop out. You can see Reaper actually, Cypher's just off the right-hand side of the screen here where Rib is stood right now, so be careful he doesn't pop out. There he is. Kenzie gets himself the triple. ANOX gets one down. Cooler gets dropped. And that is a straight, easy wipe. And already with the Graviton Surge used by ANOX, expect that to work well. ANOX are looking solid already.
Yeah, it's possible as well. I was a little bit delayed in what I was casting. My screen is a little bit behind yours, Lee, so I'll stick to yours for now and give it a go. So that's 2 attacks now for OWKings, not paying out very well at all. You saw the Graviton Surge was used with minimal hesitation there by ANOX to set that fight up here, and that's just, it's just all good for ANOX at that stage. It's worth committing those ultimates to making more time. You can already see 2 minutes now having passed here, and OWKings starting to build up some ults, but they're actually running out of options now as time ticks past.
Rubicon Transcendence available. Olber's going to get himself into position here. He's got his ulti. Deadeye's going to get popped. Nobody shown for it. Everybody knowing the positioning perfectly. He does manage to get Cypher in the back. That may work out well. He's going to have to back away, though, because the rest of his team are getting picked off. It's a fairly even duel so far. Transcendence yet to be used by Rubicon. ANOX just charging himself up around the side there. Adatonian pushing in. He needs to start landing these shots. Likely manages to get Cooler down. This is their best chance of trying to get this payload moving. Adatonian with the whole Hog ready and waiting to go. The Transcendence runs out, but ANOX pops down the Graviton Surge.
Yeah, another Graviton Surge here for ANOX as well. And you saw the Transcendence used at a good time by Rubicon to keep the rest of ANOX alive. Adatonian, though, still there with the rest of OWKings, and this fight has really dragged out. The Graviton Surge wasn't backed up a heck of a lot, and now things might be getting a little bit nasty for ANOX. It's now the Sound Barrier coming out here for ANOX. They're going to keep fighting, and Adatonian, despite playing up against the Zenyatta comp, is still staying alive and at least able to do the damage, but he's run out of teammates here as well, and you can see Sharik runs over the top.
55 seconds on the counter. Not too long. That accounts to really one good attack, and then basically you're in pieces trying to charge and keep that payload alive. This is a real struggle already for OWKings. Forget trying to finish the map. They're trying to finish the first point right now. Rib's going to have that Graviton Surge available. Kenzie, though, keep your eye on him, of course. He's going to have that Deadeye ready and waiting to go. Likely he's going to push in. Transcendence used.
Yeah, it's going to go over the top here as well and help OWKings stay alive through the fight. That's all they need. Cypher at least able to come back and take down that one McCree there as well. But Adatonian had 4 kills in that little engagement, and this will be enough after all this grinding to get OWKings to that first checkpoint, but they've bled 3 minutes and 46 seconds already.
That is not a good start, but at least they reached the payload marker. That's the main thing. Let's see if they can get past this church section unhindered. Of course, they have, because they've struggled so much to get there. There's no way they're set up to try and fight ANOX in this high ground. So ANOX is going to have themselves some free high ground. He did see Kenzie use that Deadeye, didn't get a great deal from it. Olber has his Deadeye available, but that's not going to be any use to them right now because they have the low ground. Cypher got picked off by Olber somewhere in there, and I have no idea where, but that's not good for the defensive side to lose their man. So Cypher's going to be coming back from spawn right now. He must have just popped out the side. Is that Olber up there? It is.
Yeah. So Olber now trying to go forward because he wants to try and challenge his high ground to some degree, but with the Reinhardt shield there, it's hard. He might go for one of those wishful McCree ults, one of those dead eyes, and try and set something up here. But the fight has to start now, Lee. Here we go.
They've dropped down. Oh, and they're going to see Chick for the high noon. Olber's going to get anything from this. It doesn't matter because the rest of the team, the kill feed is all red, and OWKings managed to get themselves a hat full of kills. That was a horrific attempt from ANOX to drop down and cause the fight, and that payload has gone unhindered through the church section. Forget what happened in the first round, because they got through there in no time at all.
Yeah, ANOX had no choice to go for that fight, though. The payload was already getting too close to the objective, and you'd think coming from the high ground would help you out, but it was the execution that let ANOX down. They got completely swamped in that fight as well. You saw the Earth Shatter coming in so early on, and that was perfectly backed up here as well. So we're not too far away from more Earth Shatters here, but you'll see ANOX now take the high ground on the top right, and they're going to have to jump down and fight again. Another lost fight in this situation will surely mean the round.
Kenzie has Deadeye available on the high ground, so it should land, but Anak, that's a big kill. Likely's managed to pick him off on the Zenyatta. That shield's not going to be able to hold when Rib's just burning him down. He's got 95 charge on that. He's just going to burn down everybody. Cypher comes around the side now, manages to get himself a double kill with the Deadeye. Is it going to be enough? Rib's trying to fight them all alone at the moment. The rest of his team have already been picked off. And finally, the payload will be halted. But look how far it's gone in just a matter of moments from the fountain of the first phase all the way under the bridge in the final for Sector. That was an incredible push.
Yeah, and you can see Sharek tried to use his Earth Shatter there, but was shut down. Probably just as well now, because he's going to have it for the next fight. I chalk that all down to Rubicon getting a very good Transcendence amidst the Graviton Surge, keeping ANOX alive and allowing them to clean up the fight. But we're going to have another one pretty quickly here as well, and Adatonian has been making this Roadhog pick work. Let's see if it's going to be the case here. Sound Barrier comes down for OWKings. Kenzie's hoping for something over the top, but can't catch Likely. Gets taken down by Olber's Deadeye. Just one man for Olber should be enough, and here come the Earth Shatters.
Oh, the Earth Shatter catches it. There's the swing and the hammer of Shark and Cypher combined. They managed to get themselves a couple of kills. Twitty gets pinned on the wall by Cypher. In the end, gets himself the kill, and they will get themselves a team ace. You hear the fanfare come through, and with a plethora of ultis used both sides, Cypher is still sitting on Death Blossom, and that could be vital. 2 minutes on the clock. Mitch, this is possibly going to go down to the wire, I think, this one.
Yeah, ANOX now started to solidify at least a bit more. They had to give up the streets phase because they only had a chance to really have one fight, which is pretty normal. It's like you either win that fight and hold, or lose that fight, and it goes to this point now. So that Death Blossom might be pretty important in a couple of moments here, but you can see OWKings want to sneak this payload through, and ANOX can't allow that to happen.
This Winston change seems to be working well for ANOX. Rubicon, Death Blossom doesn't get a great deal there. Cypher got shut down quick and early, but luckily the rest of the team are doing the job. Kenzie gets himself a triple kill in there. Cooler gets himself one. Rubicon in the end finishing off the Adatonian. That's one of the big things we see with the Roadhog being picked up there. He's such a juicy target, an easy target for a Zenyatta now. This is not only a support, this support can do some serious damage if you're free and easy.
Yeah, it is risky for Adatonian to be picking up this Roadhog here, but the pick potential that he has, the ability to pull people off that ledge and actually get them, or get to grips with them, is really important here, especially if that is a Reaper or a McCree. That's 50% of the DPS class already taken off the enemy team here. So now we're going to see OWKings start on this kind of fight here as well. The charge could be important, but already Winston's coming in and Olber has to back away. Whole Hog being used behind the shield, and this will buy OWKings some time, but Cypher's already in the back, and there's the Earth Shatter.
Oh, Shark gets around the side, gets both supports down. Some juicy Reinhardt action there, and you can see what it means. That is OWKings being splintered. They have one last attack chance here. 35 seconds on the clock, and look at the ultis. ANOX have just about everything at their disposal, but the main thing they need, Earth Shatter, which we just saw used there.
Yeah, and it was pretty importantly set up there. Sharek actually flanked behind, and that was what really allowed ANOX to catch OWKings off guard. Now, last push here, 15 seconds left, no more room for mistakes here, and Adatonian switched over towards the Tracer. Let's see if that makes the difference.
They're going to jump in again. It's going to be the Winston trying to come around the side. Sharek comes in there as well. Clown's got himself his sound barrier available. Gonna have to drop that beat quick and early because ANOX picked himself up 2 kills in there. That Winston change worked brilliantly. Gets himself a second as well and a third. And ANOX will hold And they will go down to distance for Overwatch Kings, 66.34. I think it's going to be a little further than that because it was a little under the bridge. Let's have a look. 66.31 in the end is the distance. That is what Overwatch Kings, well, have to defend basically. And ANOX, no, they don't need to worry about timing anymore. They just need to reach that marker, which is, it's doable because it was only under the bridge. It wasn't at the end point. It wasn't round the corner. It was just under the bridge. So one good shove in that section and they can finish.
You're still fighting, though, to get... I mean, if you win a fight where that payload is, you've won the game already. You're going to get it to the end regardless because that's like the last stand. I like the switch. We talked about the Winston switch for ANOX here as well. He was initially playing Zarya, which didn't really have the impact that ANOX would have liked to see up on that first point. We saw a Graviton Surge the first time. Well done. Shut down the fight. Overwatch Kings had to regroup. The second time, there wasn't much follow-up to it, and it is a little bit easily shut down now by Transcendence, which we saw in one of the final stage fights. So ANOX picking up the Winston here as well adds a little bit of extra damage and mobility, especially if you need to access either the top or lower part of the ledges. And Overwatch Kings tried a few different things. They tried to go underneath, and that worked on the streets phase, but then up on the ledge, it was a little bit tough for them to make it happen.
So, let's check it out. Because I see Cooler currently sitting on Widowmaker.
No way, man.
No, that's not happening. That's
Lucio
not
for life, man. That's how it is.
It's got to be changing on that one. We'll see. Of course, they are on the attack, so anything can change. But Overwatch Kings, Rib's going to be on that Zarya, likely on Zenyatta, Clown on the Lucio, Twitty on the Reinhardt, Adatonian this time will be on the Reaper, and Alba, well, whatever else is he going to be playing? He's on McCree.
Yep, that's what we want to see him on there as well. He actually got shut down by Kenzie pretty hard towards the end of that first map here, so we need to see him just try and stay a bit more solid and think more about his positioning. But Lee, when push comes to shove and there's a big fight, sometimes you can't guarantee safe and workable positioning for your McCrees here. ANOX on the attack. Sharek will be playing over on the Zarya this time, so no Reinhardt yet. We might see him in the final phase, as it's more common, same on Route 66, but now it's going to be the burly Russian lady.
And Shark hitting the arch there. Not really where he wanted to aim there. It's not really going to get you charged up, but here we go. That's a very aggressive attack. That should push straight ahead of the payload. Maybe caught Overwatch Kings off guard here. Rubicon does manage to get himself a kill, but it's all going the way of Overwatch Kings at the moment. Shark finally picked himself up one around the side. Twitty's double kill, though, has helped them well, but Shark is still alive. Gets himself a second. Kenzie picks up one as well, and this attack has worked out brilliantly. Overwatch Kings completely caught out by the aggressiveness of ANOX.
And you cannot kill Sharek. It took him so long to die there in that fight, and his focus was good. His goal was to kill Likely, get rid of that Zenyatta as well, to make sure that ANOX on Winston has a bit more safety, and so do you as Zarya. That payload's going to go over the line after the first fight. ANOX didn't go for any cheesy tactics. They didn't push the payload up into the tunnel and then go around. They just went for it. Old-fashioned, good as you like, speed boost from Cooler, getting ANOX into the fight, and you can see Overwatch Kings were not ready.
Yeah, I mean, the straight-up aggression. I love the fact that there is multiple options on that point now. Obviously, we saw a couple of fakes the other week as well in the qualifying. That worked out very well. But here we go. You can see Cypher sat off the side, doesn't have Death Blossom available, so even if he goes around the side, he just wants to catch out. He's expecting Overwatch Kings to drop down, and he wants to get a free and easy shot on towards those DPS targets, but instead, his push goes straight into the face of Alba, and Alba will shut him down. That's going to be a straight hold from Overwatch Kings.
Yeah, I think ANOX were hoping to make the dive buddy composition there with ANOX and Cypher going in together, but there's not a lot of protection there. You saw the shield that ANOX sort of dropped, sort of was right at the back of the ledge, wasn't set up well. So now very, very quickly, Overwatch Kings actually going to get themselves back up on their high ground as well. It looks like a couple of them did fall down. You always want to do this. You always want to rinse and repeat defending on this point now. It's going to be a Deadeye coming out from Alba here. Now, there's no Reinhardt on the side of ANOX, so a little bit more dangerous this environment is for them. And Cooler's lucky to stay alive there. Alba had to pull the trigger or he would have run out of time.
Yeah, very lucky. Flashbang. Oh, that was a nice Graviton Surge. Pulled him in. He was just about to get around the side there, but Kenzie gets himself one. Shark, you can see, just trying to put the damage around the back. Cooler gets himself a kill, and this could well push it straight through into the next section. They need to get more kills on the DPS, so you can see they also need to deal with Twitty. There we go. And that's going to be the payload through to the second marker.
You can really easily see the focus for ANOX. It's very much about killing Likely. It's getting that Zenyatta off the table, especially when you have Sharek who wants to set up an impactful Graviton Surge. Having the Transcendence possibility there is not ideal. You can see Clown now just trying to delay, but that won't be possible at this stage. So ANOX as well. Winston is excellent at jumping on Zenyatta and taking him out of the fight. and you can see the focus is always towards Likely first. Get rid of him, and you're laughing. Now Cypher going to come forward as well, and this is a bit of an overextension from Twitty. He doesn't need to be there. He's separated from the rest of his team, and a Reaper's going to love to get around behind you and take you out.
Yeah, that's put him in a real dangerous position. They need to group up because they only need. You saw the golden marker.
Now.
They only need to get you out, and they've lost the high ground because they got separated out, and that's a real dangerous situation that it's just put them in. You can see ANOX still sat here. They could well just hold this until they finish.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that ANOX have control here means that OWKings have to fight for it now, so they need to push forward, but ANOX are happy to do that as well. They're looking to fight at the same time. You can see Cypher going straight on in, gets himself two. In fact, I think Rib killed himself there with the right click, so that's diabolical circumstances here for OWKings. That payload lead is going to get across the line pretty comfortably here as well. An easy round, or at least it seemed that way for ANOX there. They weren't really held maybe once or twice on the streets phase, but they press on through, and that's first map going to ANOX.
Yeah, that looked... They made that look very easy. Let's check out the play of the game. Adatoni, this is where he got a quad kill, actually, right at the start. Yeah, it is. So he managed to get the flank around. You can see them all pulled in the Graviton Surge. Well, I mean, that's just mincemeat, isn't it? That's easy as you like.
Really, that's pretty much why Roadhog is so good.
The Graviton Hog? I mean, what do you mix that one with? The whole Surge? Either way, it worked brilliantly well. But, unfortunately, it didn't win them the round. So, Dorado will go to ANOX. Of course, this is a best of 5, so plenty of maps to come. Next map choice will be, of course, Overwatch Kings. So we'll see where they're going to go. Let's just remind you of their choices. It could be Hollywood, Hanamura, Ilios, Kings Row, or Temple of Anubis. So I'm really interested to see whether we're going to get one of these capture point maps in there, because I know the teams have known the map comp for a while. There was a moment where we gave them an extra map, and they were like, no, actually, we're quite happy with the pool. Yes. We're like, all right, guys, all right.
Yeah,
you know?
It was less, we're happy, it was less, don't give us more maps. It's more like, we can't scrim these.
We can't practice this much.
The game. So fair enough. It was an option there. Obviously they wanted to play what they wanted to play. It's going to be Kings Row though here for this next map. So another payload. It's going to be hybrid, of course. You've got to capture that first point. And a trend we're seeing now on Kings Row is that it doesn't even matter what the skill difference is between teams. That first point is very, very hard to hold.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we talked about this many times over. It's the distance that you have from the spawn. Obviously, even if you don't win the fight, you'll generally get the first marker. Yep. Well, then the second marker. Even if you just chip away at it, or you might just completely take it in one. Where do you think it's going to go? You think it's going to go? It's gone Kings Row. It has gone Kings Row.
Yeah,
I can see it. I can see it's already.
That's
come
why
up.
I said it. Yeah. Like all the knowledge. I'm psychic here.
Yeah.
We are
psychic Mitch.
We are of course a minute behind the clean feed as well, so we get a bit of information what's happening there. Yeah. Basically, yeah, it's a long walk, Lee, and teams that go in and fight and don't necessarily win the fight, if they can charge up ultimates, if they can get a couple picks, that's fine. That's actually a positive thing here as well. You can't afford to waste too much time on the first point of this map, especially because now teams are setting blisteringly fast times. That's the standard. Right? We are seeing sub 5-minute times on this map quite often here. So it's definitely something to look out for now. So we are going to head straight on into game and see how this second map turns out. It is Kings Row, Lee, and ANOX are looking pretty sharp. They're
looking pretty good. They're looking like they're set for this one. Obviously, we saw them have a bit of a slip-up this weekend in the Overwatch Open, but clearly they seem pretty focused against Overwatch Kings. Overwatch Kings themselves, they had a lot of struggles. They've had a lot of struggles, self-admitting themselves, over the last months. It really has been a tough old month for them, but they did qualify. It took them 4 bites of the cherry to get there in the end, but they did do it in the end. And, well, I think we're seeing why maybe it took them so long. They couldn't close out Dorado. But Dorado is a very difficult map. There's a lot of choke points in that. It's very different to Kings Row. Kings Row, we generally see teams will finish it. It's just a case of whether they can get down that final stretch in Molten Core.
Yeah, that's right. The Foundry, or the Molten Cores, we have sort of named it as well, can be fairly treacherous here. A lot of pitfalls for the unwary, literally, sometimes, if you're Slasher anyway. You can sort of fall down.
Wow.
So it's a thing that happens.
He's not going to thank you for that one.
Hey, that's fine. I honestly think he's quite a good player, but, I mean, he did fall down there, and that was pretty nice. But I've seen plenty of people do that before, though, as well. I really am not going to jump on anyone. But here we go. We're going to kick things off here. Overwatch King's going to be using the D.Va on the attack and the Winston here. Let's see how this works out. Very much a dive brawl composition, Liam.
Yeah, it's not going to give Kenzie too much free time, that's for sure. We'll see how this one works out. You can see it's Twitty. Now, Twitty ordinarily would be the Reinhardt player, so sticking with that tanky play, but with D.Va, he can do a hell of a lot more as he jumps around the side. Very aggressive stuff. There's the Winston dive buddy gone in, but it's not really gone the way I expected. They just went straight around the corner and then stood there. I thought they'd be jumping for a ledge, maybe trying to find a target, but instead, Olber's going to manage to get himself a kill. But both supports were picked off in that initial attack. Rubicon is still with with them on the defensive side, and they haven't really found a great deal, but he tried to just barge in there, but a quick flashbang stopped him dead in his tracks.
This is still okay here for OWKings. It was a bit of a messy fight, but like you said before, they can reinforce this point quite rapidly after dying. Twitty now just trying to not get killed by Cooler, but I'm sorry, Cooler's probably got more Quake championships than I've got girlfriends. He's not going to let that one go. And now Olber's going to have to come back in. We saw that Twitty stayed alive on the point for a while here, but OWKings weren't able to keep the pressure going and are eventually taken down here. So that's pretty good from ANOX to be able to hold like that. That initial push though, losing Rib so early on in the fight, and Clown, if I'm not mistaken, not great for OWKings.
And Clown just got took out again. Just at the end there, so he managed to come all the way back. Olber's going to be the man that needs to find something here. We're going to switch across to him. You can see trying to find the Deadeye on the top there. Kenzie, a lot of shots on him, but couldn't manage to land the headshot. Rib does take him down eventually, though. Now they're on point. There's going to be a high noon coming out from Olber around the side. He has to quickly cancel that out because he's getting somebody in the face. It is ANOX, and that is another solid hold. Rib's going to use Primal Rage, but he's going to do nothing here. He's all alone.
Yeah, it was maybe hoping to get a kill or get some damage done there at the sort of end of that fight there, but it's a tough one to do, especially when you're on your own, and Primal Rage isn't exactly great for DPS in general.
Yeah.
So, OWKings are doing... Overwatch are doing a couple things right here. I mean, they're jumping on these ledges. You saw that Kenzie was picked off there by Ripper. Here comes the Earth Shatter.
Whoa.
Look at how many bodies have fallen by the wayside here, and Sharek's just going to charge right on forward and swing for the fence, but Adetonian wants to hit the back line here. Sound Barrier was used for ANOX, it's keeping them a little bit healthier, but Twitty sets up on the point. Now he can damage anyone who wants to even try and get close. Still doesn't want to go head-to-head with a Reaper, though. That's not advisable, but gets the shot anyway. Cypher falls down. Twitty with a Bunny Blaster is pretty scary.
Well, it takes Kenzie and Cypher out. Thank you very much, Twitty. I know, goes up against a Quake legend, pops the headshot in there, and that gets them at least the second marker. I'm not sure where they're going to finish it off here. I think they're going to get cleared out eventually. Sharks manages to get in, get Olber and Twitty down. Adetonian, but we were talking about this at the start. The spawn timer. That Graviton Surge coming out from ANOX, trying to hold them, but unfortunately it's holding them on the point. If ANOX just gets booped away, they will cap the point. They just need to knock him off it. That's it. They're going to get it. The payload is in motion.
You can't guarantee to have good follow-up to a Graviton Surge if your team is still sort of leaking onto the point in drips and drabs. So,
well, more importantly, if you want a Graviton Surge, just put it outside of the payload marker, not on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to put it on the point, then it means you need to actually stand on the point. And generally, if you've got an enemy team Graviton Surge, you don't necessarily have to or want to be up in their face. So a bit of a stall tactic there. To be fair, we have seen this Arya not really be great for ANOX in the last match.
So something we should pay note of, and we noticed it obviously in the initial attack, is there is still no Reinhardt, which means that Earth Shatter has 0 counters to it. So he can just walk in and slap them in the face. And that's obviously what we saw in the attack. It kind of backfired on them, but you can see Shark, he's going to have it available at the moment. Twitty's stuck on the Diva, probably wants to change in a moment. Cypher just goes straight in Death Blossoms. Yeah,
gets only one kill there for that one, and Clown is actually going to be able to be the one falling. Twitty at least can respond and finally take that Reaper down. Now it's a matter of trying to deal here with this Reinhardt. Dragonblade's going to come out now as well. This could be important for Adetonian to set up some kills, but currently he's being backed off there by the Transcendence. It's pretty much a big get back sign when you pop that one, and Adetonian knows that he can't do much there as well. Speaking of which, he's actually moved to DPS from support recently as well, so it's been a good development for him, but he needs to do more in this game.
There we go. Twitty's made that change, realised he can't stick with Diva any longer. Was probably hoping to get a self-destruct to maybe try and push it through as quick as possible, but the fact that Shark's got his Earth Shatter available, they have to have that shield. They have to have something to fight against it, and it's a real danger. I mean, it could just instant wipe them around the corner here, but there's the Graviton Surge. It's going to work out. Olber realised, it's like, they're coming from behind. Need to try and get around there, but no deaths coming from that Graviton Surge.
Yeah, great reaction from Olber as well. He managed to get the stun grenade down on Kenzie while he was channeling that Deadeye. That pretty much saved his team because that was sucked into that Graviton Surge. And now off the back of that fight, yes, I mean, Twitty has gone down and now Clown falls. The payload's made more progress here, but OWKings haven't had an outright team fight win since that first point. Now Adetonian really extending to try and make something happen, but he's shut down by Kenzie, and so is Olber. This man, Kenzie, going ham.
Yeah, Kenzie is going off in this game. Twitty's going to have to wait for the rest of his team to get back. 2 minutes on the clock until they reach that payload marker. It is just around the corner, but this tends to be one of those little markers where they hold it up, and you can see we have Dragon Blade available and Deadeye for OWKings on the attack, but on the defensive side, you can see that Graviton Surge, and they're going to hope to use it early around this corner.
And another Transcendence to block that Dragon Blade as well. So here comes the Graviton Surge. ANOX in the back here, just getting a lot of damage down. That should be a pretty convincing win in that fight. Adetonian goes for the Dragon Blade there as well. Still at large from what I can see, but he has to back away, and he's not actually able to use that to break through. ANOX have the people, they have the resources, and of course they can deal with Adetonian there. The
Cooler on the hunt. Yeah, he smelled blood there. He's just like, he managed to catch 3 headshots with the boops from the Lucio on Anatonian there. And just like, I'm speeding up, I'm getting that guy. He is going down. Managed to chase him down nicely there. And you know, when there's no Quake Pro playing a Lucio, you've got to worry because those basic attacks can do a lot of damage. But here we go. Deadeye pushed up by the shield. It should be enough to force them back, and it's going to be enough to get the payload around the corner. They won't hit the marker, but it's definitely got it into a perfect position so they can fight.
Yeah, and then you can see as well, Rib able to jump forward and at least cause some disruption. This actually forces the Transcendence kind of early, in my opinion. Cypher comes forward and tries to set up a Death Blossom there. He gets very little for it. He only really gets on towards Clown here, which is an acceptable loss if you're Overwatch Kings. Now Adatoni has a Discord on target, and you know what to do to those. Just kill them. And now, of course, the Zenyatta in the back, or maybe not so much in the back. Some very aggressive positioning from Rubicon is going to cause his downfall.
And that is going to be the second payload marker finally reached there with 50 seconds on the clock. They will be on the final furlong here. Adatonian did some serious work in there. He's got Rib with him, so these are 2 dive buddies that could work out. They're going to be looking to get straight onto Rubicon or Cooler, or maybe just go for one of those aggressive targets. Let's keep our eye on those. We're following Adatoni at the moment. As I mentioned, Dragon Blade available. No Transcendence to counter it this time.
Yeah, and that might be the really important thing here as well. Overwatch Kings have lost a fair bit of time. We're going to see Adatoni. He discovers the hidden Reaper there as well. Cypher was lying in wait, and Adatoni can't take that fight after using his Reflect. Has to back away. Now Deadeye's coming out. Oh, but goes huge. It's 4 kills on the Deadeye, and Adatoni now can back it up in the back of the fight. That's exactly what Overwatch Kings needed.
That's a team ace. They're going to get the respawns, but they're going to just need to shove them up. You can see you're going to be a Winston pushing straight in the side. I think they might just be able to push it straight through. Here comes the Diva. They need to get on the payload marker. Oh, just about in time. The Earth just to come straight in there. Twitty trying to do what he can, but they're trying to keep them array. It's absolute chaos around the site. Rib manages to get Rubicon down. ANOX and Obra are having a duel in the background there. You can see Adatonian catching down Kenzie. They are clearing them out. Overwatch Kings should have this in the bag.
They had the back of the Transcendence in that fight as well, and if I'm not mistaken, the Deadeye was going to be there if Overwatch Kings needed it. But they got over the line in the end. That was an incredible Deadeye. It was set up as well, of course, by getting rid of Sharik's shield. I'm not sure if it was dropped or if he was knocked down, but either way, his team weren't able to benefit from that one. And we talk about League quite often not seeing big Deadeyes in games like these, but there's one for you.
Yeah, I just want to get confirmation on the time. I think it was around about 8:20. I didn't actually catch it in the end, though. I'm hoping we're going to get a glimpse on it. Hopefully we can get it back in just a moment. Just there we go. Bam, on the top of our clean. 7:14. Okay, it's a shorter map than I actually expected. So, well, I mean, let's talk about Albert, man. That was the perfect Deadeye.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can't ask for
much more.
You don't get 4
in a pro game that often.
And the thing is as well is that when you've got a Reinhardt to sit behind when there's a Deadeye, you're feeling pretty safe, right? Feeling pretty happy. There are a lot of ways to disrupt that, i.e. get your Reinhardt to charge their Reinhardt, get rid of the shield, get your Lucio to jump in and boot the Reinhardt, I don't know, out of the way to the left or something like that as well. So that seems to have been what happened in that case there as well. So, I mean, a little bit fortunate for Olber, but I'm sure it was orchestrated as well. It's like, let's get rid of that shield. We need to break them through here. Otherwise, things could have been a lot uglier for Overwatch Kings League. 7 minutes and 14 isn't exactly a stellar time on this map, and it's because 3 or 4 fights from Overwatch Kings were lost in the streets phase. You can't allow that to happen if you really want a strong time in this map. So as good as the end was, and we did get excited, ANOX have shown that they can breeze through a map like Dorado without really losing any fights, so Overwatch Kings really need to have their socks pulled up, dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure they put up a solid defense here all the way through.
Yeah, and remember it took them, what, 3 or 4 fights on the initial payload to get the marker caught out as well, to capture it, to get the payload moving. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is ANOX's turn to attack. 7:14, the time they've got to beat. It's in the top right of the screens. You can see the counter for ANOX. Here we go. It's a pretty long timer for Kings Ro8, but it is certainly possible for Overwatch Kings to hold. 1-0 already for ANOX, and here they go. Straight aggression, just like it was on Dorado. Likely managing to get himself a kill early on. Gets himself a second. That is both tanks down, and that is going to be ANOX backing off.
That's exactly what Overwatch Kings needed. Now, that was kind of the bare minimum, Lee. They need a few more of those. You can see how aggressive ANOX are going to go, and you can see Sharik just doesn't give a damn. But the focus for him, you could see, we were watching Sharik Zarya saying, who are you trying to kill? On Dorado, you focus down that Zenyatta. Now you're sort of shooting a Reinhardt, shooting a bit of a Zenyatta here and there as well. So ANOX are going to get get aggressive. They are great at diving and getting aggressive in general, so they're going to try and make this next fight work just as well.
Kenzie trying to get the flank around the side here. He needs to get that Reaper down. He's already used Wraith form, so that will be an easy execution. Headshot, flashbang. Knew he had nothing to get away from it, and he's getting free shots around the back here. Takes down Clown. They can't allow him to just get this free damage around the side. Kenzie is a real thorn in their side. Gets himself a second headshot, that time on the Zaya. Gets the shield up just in time, but there's the flash.
Oh.
Now he's got Deadeye available. Kenzie doing some serious work here. Transcendence having to be used for Likely to try and keep them in this.
Yeah, that's right. Kenzie now can sit back and try and use this one. The problem is that Twitty was still alive here, but it was a drawn-out fight where Kenzie wasn't really paid any attention to. Sharek tried to kill him there. You saw as he went down to 4 health behind the statue, but very, very quickly and very nicely, Likely put a Harmony Orb on him, allowed Kenzie to stay alive a little bit longer. He came back through and kept putting damage down. Kenzie wasn't even the main focus of that fight there. He wasn't the spearhead, but the amount of damage he was able to do from the sides unanswered was what gave ANOX that fight, and they're not stopping here.
Straight aggression. This is what they have to do, and obviously this is what didn't work against them. Adatonian, though, has worked this out, and actually that's worked well for Overwatch King, so ordinarily, but the thing is they don't lose anything for it because they've already got the payload in motion, so it doesn't matter that they lost that fight. It does help for Overwatch Kings. It gives them a defensive setup a lot more earlier than they would expect against ANOX, which they need right now because you can see it's still only 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, that aggression's all well and good, but you're sort of charging up some ultimate percentage and not much more. Now, the Graviton Surge catches most of ANOX together here, and you can see Rib at the back just helping that damage get across the line. Another Graviton Surge being used from the other side here. Sharek sets it up well. Twitty's fallen down. Cypher as well gets a kill on towards Clown, and now it's just turning into a bit of a mess. ANOX still have 5 players up here to work, and this payload won't stop. A little bit of over-aggression from Overwatch Kings is going to lose them crucial meters here on this stretch.
They didn't need to do that. They just didn't need to do it. They could have held. They weren't a team. We saw it. We saw the fact that Olba wasn't with them. They had to come around the side. They could have caught them in the street here, just like ANOX did. The problem is it's now give them all of this free time to push on through the streets. That was not good.
And this is exactly what Overwatch Kings didn't get to benefit from on their attacking side. Communication might be an issue there as well when your McCree's back in base and you're trying to fight, but who knows? That's just speculation here. You can see at least that Deadeye was enough to push ANOX back, but they're going to come in and fight. You can see they're always starting it off with that Winston. Kenzie doesn't get anything for his Deadeye from the high ground, but now he's in a decent position to shut down this Reinhardt. You can see Fan the Hammer comes in. Twitty falls down. Now he's trying to deal with that Reaper as well, because the Adatonian had to get the heck out of dodge here, and the fight 1 for 2 at this stage for Overwatch Kings, so actually not bad for them. You can see they could break back into it, and Adatonian and Olba adding to their brace of kills is going to keep the payload stopped for now.
Olba's got to get these kills here, and he can delay them. If he could just catch Cypher, or they were cooler, they were both trying to back away there. It would have separated them, slowed the spawn down, just anything to buy them time. 3:30 on the clock, you can still see, so it's still a very solid time from ANOX here, despite the fact they've been slowed down, because Overwatch Kings got slowed down so much in this section. Olba's going to get his Deadeye out. He manages to get Shark down. There's going to be another Transcendence coming out, and this has worked out well for Overwatch Kings. It's exactly what they need. Just slow down ANOX.
Like I said, this is the bare minimum of what they want to do. If you want to match what ANOX were able to do to you as the defensive side, you need to create some of the same situations. You need to facilitate for the same team fights to be won in this stretch of the map. So far, Overwatch Kings have been good, but look, they've only got that one. They've only the one Graviton Surge here to work with, Lee. No other ults really, so they need to rely on that quite heavily. They need to stop ANOX here as well, and this could be hard. Sound barrier comes out.
There's the sound barrier. There's the Graviton Surge to counter it. They managed to catch him in it, but there's no kills. Yeah. There is no kills for Overwatch Kings. ANOX get themselves a double, make it a triple as Kenzie goes off, and Cypher just executes the supports Likely and Clown, and that is going to be the second marker, and now they're in real trouble. Look across the board what they have available. Cypher is going to get himself set up. There's a Graviton Surge. There is a horrible, horrible combo of ultis for ANOX. Cypher's already in position.
Yeah, he would have wasted no time getting set up at the top there. Now, Adatonian probably should know he's going to be there, as it's sort of fairly common to run across each other up on that high ground, but we'll see if they actually sort of go face-to-face here on that Reaper. That'll be an interesting duel, but look at Sharek. He wants to set up here for the Graviton Surge. There was a sound barrier that came down for Overwatch Kings, though, and that's why Cypher's waiting. He doesn't want to waste, but now he goes in. Now that sound barrier is decayed enough for him to get a lot of damage across with that Death Blossom here. The Transcendence came across the top as well for ANOX to help. It wasn't a hugely convincing fight, but now the cleanup crew of Kenzie and Cypher are here to do the job.
And there they go. Payload unhindered, keeps on moving while that Death Blossom didn't get a great deal. It gives Kenzie just free reign to land the headshot after headshot as Likely gets executed from the spawn there. And this is looking like a solid 2-0 for ANOX. 5 minutes 30. They're going to get one last fight on the payload, but you can see Deadeye already coming out from Kenzie. Doesn't manage to land anything. The payload's still unhindered. Transcendence going to use. That's going to buy them a little bit of time. The Graviton Surge gets pulled out. Is it enough? Twitty gets himself a double there. Comes on the Graviton Surge, but they still haven't cleared off the payload. Rubicon gets himself one, and ANOX just pouncing in.
And that's exactly what you do to Zenyatta's, of course, as that Winston. Jump on them, get rid of them, and that's going to be it here as well. I think just at the end, Overwatch Kings can hold. But now, ANOX so close to the end.
It's only a minute 14.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Still only have a minute to work with here. And look at the ultimates lead. They've only got Transcendence really ready to go. Maybe a sound barrier for the next fight. But they don't exactly have a plethora of tools here to use.
Adatonian, he's got to hit the perfect Death Blossom here. He's around the back. Are they going to be expecting this? He can jump in now. He goes for it. Does he manage to get anything? He gets himself one. Olba gets a double as well. The Deadeye works out. That's exactly what they needed. 6:26 on the clock. That's going to push them back. We are going right down to the limit, man.
And Adatonian kept safe in that one as well. Yes, he didn't get super high value off the Death Blossom, but the Deadeye was there to cut through the Transcendence. ANOX now are being pushed back in droves, and they have like 30 seconds to finish this map. They barely have time to respawn and set up. They just got to go, go, go.
This is why we're seeing Cypher trying to go aggressive. They realize the danger that's up, but Kenzie and Cypher get themselves 2 kills. Sound barrier comes down. They just need to clear off the point, and it might be what they're doing. 7 minutes approaching. Cypher pulls out the Deadeye. Death Blossom works out. They're going to do it with 10 seconds to spare, and ANOX will take it 2-0. 10 seconds was all they needed. Oh, you got to feel for Overwatch Kings.
I cannot believe it. That was very, very close. And we all talked up ANOX as well in their attack. We said they like to be aggressive. They like to go in like that. But my lord, they were held right at the end. How's the sweat on the brow there, Lee?
I'm a little getting quite excited about that game, boys.
It's not like my colony needs any excuse to jump out.
I know, right?
But yeah, so we can try and scale it back a little bit here as well and talk about mostly
Let's calm down. Let's just calm down a little.
Yeah. The Streets phase was much better from Overwatch Kings here as well, especially seeing what they'd actually had to go up against ANOX. We did see that last Graviton Surge there just outside the Foundry that let them down. I said they've only got the Graviton Surge here. They need to back this up really, really well. The problem is that if you only have direct fire or like your basic abilities to rely on, and the enemy's team is Gravitoned in with a Reinhardt shield in front, it can be very, very difficult to actually penetrate through that in normal ways. So there wasn't a lot to combo with that ult, and sometimes you can be a bit harsh saying there was no follow-up to this Graviton Surge, but sometimes you don't have the capacity to deal with that Reinhardt who will always have his shield up front and center when his team is Gravitoned in there as well. But those last few fights were very good for Overwatch Kings. It's just kind of heartbreaking really that they now go down 0-2.
Yeah, and it's like you just said, you know, the street phase was really the kicker. It's like you think 10 seconds, that's all they needed, 10 seconds. If they'd have just maybe waited for Olba to get there in that Graviton Surge. Maybe just anything. You could even look through any minute detail. 10 seconds. You can buy 10 seconds easily. Yep. You know, remember when they chased down Cooler and Cypher? If they'd have hit one of those shots extra and would have killed them, it would have delayed the spawn. That could have been the 10 seconds.
Or that fight that Overwatch Kings fought to try and defend without Olba there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the one without Olba in the streets was a biggie, yeah.
You know, and there was definitely a communicated decision to go and attack, to go forward there, because there was a speed boost used there by Overwatch Kings. So they're saying, well, we think we can clean up here and stagger a few more kills, and what happened was obviously it was turned around. They didn't really have a good read on the ultimate percentage of what ANOX had, so even though ANOX were technically on the back foot, they turned it around with that Graviton Surge. You saw Kenzie in behind just getting in the in the LG, and that was it. They managed to pretty much get through the Streets phase there. There was a possibility that Overwatch Kings could have held indefinitely if they hadn't made that error. That may haunt them, Lee, if they don't win this next map. It's going to be Hollywood, so another hybrid map here as well, and it is 2-0 in favour of ANOX. One more slip for Overwatch Kings, and the dream is over, at least the upper bracket dream anyway. They will get a second chance in the lower, but it's not a great way to start here when they're clearly, the skill gap is not there. There's not a skill gap here as well. So
these guys have faced each other so many times throughout the Go4 tournaments. When we did the Go4s and we started things off, it was always ANOX versus Overwatch Kings in the finals. They were predominantly there. Let's talk about Hollywood though, because we're back onto this one.
Jump into
we've got to capture the payload. The game is about ready to go. So let's get in there. Let's talk about this because it is a very tricky first point to hold. There's been so many different meta changes for this map, especially because obviously all about capturing that first point. Used to see Symmetras used predominantly. Then we went through the whole Mercy phase. Now we're into the Zenyatta phase. So it's really all about trying to capture them. It used to be about holding the top ledge that you can see on your screen, the far distance one, with the McCrees. You used to even have soldiers up there as well. Now we're into the Zenyatta phase. How is it going to work for the defensive side? Because I'm seeing I'm going to ignore what I'm seeing on ANOX at the moment because this attacking could change. Let's talk about the defensive setup first, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly standardly. I mean, the only difference maybe is the Winston coming in here. Obviously has to be quite careful in the current year from Zenyatta as well, putting Discord orbs on him there. I mean, the Reinhardt fairly standard as well. You really want to try and lock into that choke point. And now where Junkrat isn't so prolific, you can take a Reinhardt on defense and feel good about it there. But let's see here. ANOX as well, they're actually coming here with Cypher on Genji, so I'm interested to see how this plays.
I want to talk about that. I'm not a fan of that. The fire strike that comes through. He was at 42 charge coming out the door, Shark, and that's gave him the aggression. You can see why they've just gone in. ANOX, as they have been all the way through, on the first point, full-on aggression. Is it going to work out for them this time? You bet your life it is, because already they're getting themselves a couple of kills there. Shark and ANOX just wipe them out. Team Ace, thank you very much. First payload marker down. That is ANOX throwing down the gauntlet to Overwatch Kings.
Yes, we floated into that fight mostly with the perspective of Sharik on that Zarya as well. A lot of action happened around that. I think it's easy to say, but you're very vulnerable now as Zenyatta when there's a Winston jumping at you. Okay, there's not a whole lot you can do. You can discord him and try and fight back at him, but you have a very small amount of health, and ANOX can normally kill you before you do that. So ANOX now realizes he's bitten off a bit more than he can chew. ANOX want to take control of that high ground here to get a really smooth process through the Wild West phase. But ANOX now, just going for a bit of information, sees a lot of Overwatch Kings are set up there. And obviously, ANOX have to do it the old-fashioned way and get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dragon Blade available for Cypher if he needs to use it. They are taking control of the high ground. And this is not good for Overwatch Kings. This is the battle lane must win to slow them down. We might be looking at a very, very fast time here, Mitch. They've taken control of the high ground. The payload's continuing to work its way through the streets. This is not stopping.
No, that's right. Overwatch Kings invested a lot in that fight up on top of that building with the Dragon Blade netting 2 kills. And now, look at this man. Kenzie gets himself 2. May even have another one here. Twitty falls down. Of course, Tasharik just peppering him from below. Not good at all. Not good at all. Because Overwatch Kings took the fight on the opposite building. This time is going to be very, very strong for ANOX unless they're stopped in this next phase. Overwatch Kings probably could have played this a little bit more passively, but sometimes you got to know when to hold him and when to fold him.
Oh, Kenzie's going to have Deadeye available on the high ground. They're all over the place. He should be able to get at least one. He gets Clown down. Primal Rage ape in his face, but he forces him back. That's going to be a rib batted away. He keeps trying to jump up there, but look at the kill feed. It is all red. ANOX have just killed absolutely everyone. We've hit the second marker at 2 minutes and 9 seconds. This is going to be an incredibly fast time. Overwatch Kings are going to have to hold for so goddamn long here. 7 minutes sub to hold them off.
And I think perfect time on this map is maybe 2 minutes 50 or something like that. So to give you an idea of how close to pretty much spot on ANOX are right now, that's pretty darn good, especially given that they have been fighting and leaving the payload here. So this last stage is very important now. Ultimate advantage is there for ANOX. You've got Primal Rage, Graviton Surge, you've also got the Sound Barrier available, and Cypher will have his Dragon Blade. Kenzie, he's just shooting ducks at the moment as well, sitting right back. Clown goes down. They were probably hoping to use Clown and eventually get his Sound Barrier, but he wasn't there to use it. And now ANOX can continue to pressure onto these fights. Overwatch Kings are splintered, they are battered, broken, and they look like they lack a leader.
Oh man, well, you got to wonder the mental effect that maybe losing a map with 10 seconds difference got to have on you. They felt they maybe had Kings Row, but look at this. We're at 3 minutes 7 seconds. That payload has still not been stopped. It's still rolling on through. The Sound Barrier goes down. The Death Blossom gets dropped, but still the kill feed is all red. Likely finally makes the smallest of dents, but that is about it. ANOX and Shark around the back there. Cypher's ripping them apart. That payload is going to roll on in. Ladies and gentlemen, 3:27. What a time from ANOX.
Well, this is not good for Overwatch Kings at all. And you saw every single fight was lost. Every fight. Even the first point, of course, we saw that, which generally teams sometimes can hold on to a little bit longer here. It's not as bad as Kings Row can be. No, Overwatch Kings were completely dashed aside here, and it does seem like they are struggling to deal or respond to the aggression of ANOX here. Now, as a defending team in Overwatch, it's kind of hard to be proactive sometimes and actually stop an enemy team in their tracks. We used to have that when you had the Lucio speed boost. Defenders would actually jump on the attackers before they got to the point. But now when you're running with the lineup of Zenyatta as well, you really want to be very mindful of your positioning. So a lot of defensive teams have to think more statically in terms of their positioning. And ANOX is just making mince of that. They love that. They want you to sit around in the one spot because they're going to jump on top of you. They're playing Winston, they're playing Genji to jump in your face, and even, of course, Zarya for Sharik is always known to be quite aggressive jumping into those fights there as well. ANOX really didn't have any problems with the defense. And, you know, talking about skill gap here, it looks like that matchup now shifting far more in ANOX's favor because they're confident in taking these fights and they execute them well amidst all the chaos.
And for OWKings, they have to make this attack work in the first go. There literally is no stall point. They have to hit the ground running. I think we may be seeing a GG very early on here if they can't take this point within the first attack.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say probably at best, they've got two attacks. I wouldn't even go so far as the 3. 3 minutes 28, as you said. 250
no.
is the perfect time.
I think it's 250 years. I have to check. But
328
yeah.
on Hollywood. That's. I mean, I saw the Cloud9 game yesterday. The finals for the Overwatch Open. I think it was 4:04 they did. Actually, tell that was Numbani. I'm thinking Numbani. So I'll ignore that one, but that was a very fast time. This is just incredible. I don't think I've seen Hollywood done in 3:28 by anyone. There we go. The Fire Strike comes through, and here we go. We're going to have to see some unmatched aggression here. OWKings going to have to just pile on in there. You can see they're already running. You can see the pace they're going. They know they've got to go fast. Twitty's just going to try and jump in, but they have to get themselves some kills here. Can they get the Reinhardt down early? That's what they need to do, but it's not working out. Cypher gets one, Shark gets another, and this is all over already. OWKings just get wrecked. They didn't even get a single kill.
Twitty goes in behind the Reinhardt shield, and I guess he's saying, let's kill Reinhardt, but then Shark just gets shielded anyway, and then it looks like the rest of OWKings are fighting other people there, so don't really know what the plan was. I'm glad we got to, yeah, well maybe, I'm glad we got to go in with Twitty and see how that was actually supposed to be set up there as well, because that didn't make a heck of a lot of sense here. Let's see though if we see a different situation now from OWKings. They're still running with a Diva with Twitty. Let's see if this works out. They've got high ground at least.
Well, they're likely to manage to find Cypher, so that is a very good start. They have to take in this second attack. You can see Adatonian, he's got the right target. He needs to deal with this Reinhardt. Oh, but that big shield coming out from ANOX is going to be so crucial. Cool is trying to get away from this one. Will finally get taken down. Adatonian getting batted away. Has to find himself that 200 health back around the side there. They are starting to pick up kills. This has worked out, and OWKings will get the first point. It's just about all they can do to hold on right now.
Yeah, I mean, even losing one fight can pretty much be the game at this point here with how damn good ANOX have done. So we'll have to see what happens to OWKings now in this next stage. We saw what ANOX did. They actually baited OWKings into fighting on the high ground, and then OWKings overextended, and basically then we saw Cypher go nuts. Notice Kenzie here's coming out with a Hanzo, which is a bit of an interesting pick for him. It's going to at least allow some information to go to ANOX, especially with a Sonic Arrow. He'll know if there's anyone flanking, and I guess he just likes to be able to get up and down from the high ground a lot easier than a McCree can.
Well, Twitty's still on Diva as well. There's the self-destruct being thrown out, so expect him to switch out if this fight fails. But there we go. Deadeye not going to work out from Alba, so he gets nothing from that. So a whole lot of ult has been burnt here, and nothing gained from it from OWKings. In fact, look at the kill feed. ANOX just destroyed them once again. That's a team ace. Mitch, that might be it.
Yeah, I think that is the GGs are going to come out now as well. I think they pretty much know it is done and dusted, and it's a 3-0 here for ANOX over OWKings. Now, as I said, Lee, the dream isn't dead, of course, for OWKings. They move to the lower bracket. They still have a chance to fight later on. But that is that, ladies and gentlemen. What an incredible start to proceedings here as well at the EU Regionals. It was, yeah, it's a shame because we saw some sparks of brilliance from OWKings.
10 seconds, really. Mitch.
Yeah.
We could have had a third or fourth map in there. We would have had a third map. We already had that. A fourth map is what I meant. We could have had a fourth map in there. But I think what we can take away from this, obviously with ANOX dominating, was just their unrivaled aggression. That's like, you think of all the maps, think of Dorado at the start. Instead of like going off the little left flank or feinting it, they just went straight through. Before the payload even got to the archway, they were straight through. Moving on to King's Row, straight in their faces. Took them a lot longer. That was probably the whole point. But Hollywood, again, we went straight back to that. They just unrivaled aggression, and OWKings tried to do the same. You saw it with everyone going in, but they were just chaotic about it. They didn't. There seems to be a good flow of the straight aggression. It's not chaos aggression. It's a well thought out, planned attack, but very fast.
And I think as far as players go as well, a lot of ANOX, I mean, let's think about it like TF2 and Quake guys, right? So they're forged in the fires of chaos. And I'm not saying that's not the same for OWKings here as well, but we can see how much ANOX thrive on that as well. Because at the end of the day, if the team communication does fall down and the fight just breaks out into little skirmishes,
you just know the
they
target.
can rely on themselves as well. And yeah, they are calling targets fairly well. I think sometimes I sort of called out Kenzie and Sharik, I think, coming forward on King's Row and who they picked, but it's very, very hard to set up ideal circumstances for those fights. fights there, Lee, in some cases. But you can see that ANOX aren't afraid to be aggressive. There's no hesitation. There's no second thought. And I think that's an issue for Overwatch Kings here as well. The decision-making, the flowchart, the chain of, I guess, importance in their minds is not quite refined yet as well. And we saw that hurt them, especially that last fight there when they were defending on Hollywood up on top of the buildings. That was what broke them.
One of these days, we'll be able to have a listen in and figure out exactly how cool, calm, and collected these comms are, or whether they're just who shouts the loudest. Because sometimes it is. You never really know how it works with teams. It's always interesting to see. Obviously, every team has their own separate way of figuring these things out. But what a cracking first best of 5 we had. It was a 3-0, which I'm a little sad about. I'd prefer to see another couple of maps in there. But moving on, we're going to stick with ANOX because clearly they did fantastic. Don't exactly know how the rest of the brackets are going right now. Hopefully we'll get some updates for that. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, it will be the next upper bracket round 2. Join us for that one. It's going to be fantastic.